Hello, I want to address with you two of the most common questions we get about hormones whenever we have any posts or any comments are made. And I think that when we answer these questions, it might help you understand a bit more about what actually is happening here with your hormones and why it's so important to talk to a functional medicine practitioner. The first question we often get is, if I'm already on hormones and or already taking birth control, can you actually test my hormones and will it be effective if we do? And then the other one I always hear is, I've already had my hormones tested and everything was completely normal, that all the things were within range. And so let's start with the birth control part first. And the question is, if you're taking hormones, if you're taking birth control, can you actually test my hormones? And the answer is yes, you can. But the other part of that is, will it be accurate? And the answer is no, it won't be. Because see, whenever you're taking exogenous hormones or hormones that are not produced by your body, they're from an outside source, exogenous, that's going to affect your hormone levels. That's going to affect your body's ability to make its own hormones. So when you take a hormone, your body will shift and start not making other hormones. And so you're going to see different levels based on if somebody's taking hormones. And many times when people are taking birth control or some type of hormones, we'll often see that the levels are much lower than they would be if they weren't taking hormones. And so that's one reason why they're able to help some people feel better. It's because it does help regulate the massive swings in some of these hormones, and it kind of puts them at a lower level. But for people that really want to look into finding the answers, there's still ways that we can help people, even if they're taking birth control. And so we want to understand is what can be causing hormonal imbalances in the first place. So a lot of times we'll ask the questions like, what were your symptoms like before you start taking birth control? You know, were they heavy cycles? Were they long? Did you have fibroids? And whenever we hear these terms, we already know then that there had to have been a hormonal imbalance that caused them, because you can't have those problems and have normalized hormones. But then that answers the second question. Well, but when I went to my doctor, they said everything was normal. Well, they are normal, but please understand the levels that they checked your hormones are in a range that are very, it's a very large range. For example, on progesterone, it can go all the way from 10 to almost up to 200 units. And so the thing is it allows these fluctuations throughout the month so that whenever it's high in the follicular stage or the luteal stage, you'll see different fluctuations. But understanding that those fluctuations then can allow somebody that, let's say, normally they're at 120. That's where they should be. But for whatever reasons, their levels are now at 80. So the doctor will look at it and say, well, your levels are 80. That's normal. But maybe you're supposed to be at 120. And so the problem is that nobody knows where your levels are supposed to be. So we can't answer that question for you. It's like, where are you specifically supposed to be? And so there are some doctors that start to look at ratios. They say, well, if this one is this level and this level is this level, then those two offset, then that can mean that that is a dominance based on those ratios. And that's not a bad thing to do, but it's still not actually 100% correct, because somebody's balance of ratios, those ratios are supposed to be different for individuals and individuals at different times of the month. So you can't really always look at that. Now that leads us to then to say, okay, well, if I'm on birth control, the hormone test is not going to be accurate. It's not going to show me what I really need to know. And the other part is, if I'm taking, and if everything is in the normal ranges, then how can you really help somebody with hormonal imbalance? Well, the question is, you have to look at what's causing those hormonal imbalances and what organs help regulate those hormones. For example, if we see a lot of inflammation in somebody's body, that means that their cells are damaged. And if their cells are damaged, it's going to take more hormones to create the same desired effect. The other thing we can see is that people can also have hormones that come from chemicals or toxins can actually mimic estrogen. So those are estrogen mimickers. So they can actually mimic your hormones and cause those effects. And you can test for those types of toxins that can affect and replace and make the body believe that it has hormones that it doesn't actually have. And so you're not going to see that on standard lab testing. We can also look at the urine hormone testing, where we can see how well the body's eliminating hormones. So it says, well, we want to see this certain level up here, but we want to see that level then taken down and detoxified, eliminated, so we can do a urine hormone test to see, is the liver eliminating those hormones properly. We can also do a stool test, where a stool test can evaluate the microbiome. It can evaluate leaky gut. And we know that the microbiome and leaky gut can factor and affect and change your hormones as well. So it's important to look at the whole case study. So if somebody walks in, they're saying, I'm having all these digestive issues and all these hormonal issues, then guess what? We're going to be running a stool test to look to see, is this stomach, is this digestive system affecting the hormonal system? if we look on testing and we see a lot of inflammation, then we're going to ask those other questions like, what's causing the inflammation to begin with? What can we do to lower the inflammation so that the body then can regulate its hormones better? Because inflammation is not, it can be affecting everything. It can even affect the organs and glands that release the hormones. And that might be one reason why your body's producing a little bit more estrogen, a little bit more progesterone, and not enough progesterone because of those inflammation levels. So I hope this answers your question. I know it's quite a bit of information in a few minutes, but I guess the best piece of advice I can give you is to work with a professional that's helped patients help uncover their specific issues. And that's all we do in our clinic is we help people find the root causes of their health issues and the contributing factors and help them put together a plan that's going to help them regain their health, their hormones, and to be happy again. So hope that helps. Until next time, get well, stay well.